Yes, the UEFA Champions League final is upon us. And Arsenal fans, hear this. Arsenal is going into that game as the underdogs. You might choose to disagree, but that's fine. From a tactical point of view, PSG are the favorites for this game. I'm not saying that to mean that Arsenal would lose, but I think that generally, Arteta will not be the one to take the initiative in this game. He will tactically have to respond to what PSG throws at him. Now, one thing I think Arsenal, from a tactical point of view, will be wary of in this game is Kvaratskhelia and Dembélé. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So usually, if Arsenal goes into perhaps a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4 pressing shape, what PSG usually does in attack is usually have players who are able to actually hold the width in attack. And then they go into sort of this shape, three at the back, where Marquinhos almost becomes a right back. And then they would usually have one person in this holding role. Vitinha, Neves, and even Jai Emery, no matter who they played there, they would usually have that shape and they would usually rotate in midfield. But where I think this is a bit of a problem for many teams is that they usually leave this central striker zone, this number 9 zone, empty. Dembélé does not play as a traditional number 9. Instead, he is more of a roving player. And then what you would have out wide is that Hakimi and whoever is in this wide place for PSG would continue to rotate along this place. But it would always be the two of them here in this zone. And then what will happen in the other side again is that you will have Kvaratskhelia and possibly Dembélé going to pair up with him there, or João Neves going to pair up with him there. So that you then sort of have something like this. You have these two players out wide here, and then you have these two out wide here. Now, if you want to defend against a team like this, what you would probably do is that if you have João Neves free here, Saliba can well shift across to mark him already, to join him. And then in doing so, they can try to double up on Kvaratskhelia here. But what you would usually have happen now is that Dembélé sort of occupies a position here to make sure that whoever the centre back is cannot really go across to join. And then you have Neves not really going to support him. They basically just drawing a line here and leaving Kvaratskhelia 1v1 with that fullback. It happened with Chelsea, and I think Chelsea suffered a lot for it. They were torn apart. It happened somehow against Bayern Munich as well. But I think Bayern coped well with it. We'll talk about it in a minute. But what would essentially happen is that if you now decide to move this centre back there to go and double up from Kvaratskhelia, or to move any of your players there, you will be freeing up some space in the middle that Dembélé or even Hakimi or anybody can run into. You absolutely don't want to do that. So what ends up happening with most teams is that they will force you to defend very deep, almost with 6 players at the back, defend very narrowly, and then PSG can just push up and keep you inside your own half. Now, apart from that, something else that also happens again is that the movement of Dembélé here, Dembélé does not stay fixed as a central striker. He is constantly roaming along the pitch. Now, there's a question of how do you deal with him? Do you want Gabriel or Saliba to follow him all over the pitch? When he drops, he follows him. If that happens, it then means that you have to commit to pressing 1v1 all over the pitch to make sure that you don't leave anybody unmarked. I think that as a team, Arsenal can do that, because if you remember Bayern versus Arsenal early on in the season, I analyzed that game and I said that Arsenal were very decent with their 1v1 pressing. But my only concern is, in the Champions League final, the first that Arteta has coached in, the first that Arsenal has played in under him, is he going to have the guts to go 1v1 with PSG all over the pitch? He might be forced to do it. If you do that, you will create a very open game like the one you saw with PSG against Bayern. PSG thrives in games like that. That is what they want you to do. Does Arteta have the guts or the courage to do it? So, one thing I want us to keep an eye on tactically is, how will Arteta cope with Kvaratskhelia? What is he going to leave him 1v1 with his right back? I don't know if it's going to be Timber or whoever the right back is. Then, how do they cope with Dembélé? Are they going to press 1v1 all over the pitch? That remains to be seen. But one thing that I think Arsenal can exploit is that PSG's right-hand side in defense. Because for most parts, when they go into this attacking shape, they usually leave this 4-man rest defense, of which Marquinhos almost plays as a right back, especially when Hakimi is usually up front, almost sometimes even getting into a number 9 position. It takes a while for them to be able to reset into their usual defensive shape when they lose the ball. So I think that we can have a situation where Trossard or whoever that left winger is for Arsenal would have a chance to run directly at Marquinhos. If they can pin Marquinhos and run directly at him, Marquinhos is an old man. They can outrun him. But again, it's easier said than done. And then another thing I want to say is, when PSG are set up in this shape and they are trying to find spaces around, they can't find spaces, they would usually take the ball back and try to pry you into a press, try to draw you to actually come out and press them. Most teams are afraid of committing to that press against PSG because they are afraid that once you commit into the press, you run the likelihood of leaving these players up front 1v1 with your players. Now, most teams don't want to take that risk. But what I would say though is that Arsenal and Arteta can be very clever with the press. If you can press everyone when they go back, and then usually Vitinha is the one that would remain without a man pressing him. If you can have Declan Rice press Vitinha, Vitinha would always be the one to receive the ball with his back facing his own goal in this situation. And I know that Vitinha is one of the most press-resistant players in Europe at the moment. But Declan Rice is the one player who has the extra pair of lungs to press a player, to press a midfielder here. And then at the same time, in the next second, also be the heart of his defense to defend. Declan Rice can do that role. He can do it. He has done it before. And this is, when people say why Declan Rice is one of the best midfielders in Europe, this is the reason why. He can jump here to press Vitinha, and then in the next second, if they don't win that ball, Declan Rice will be here as well defending for Arsenal. So if they can apply that press with Declan Rice, if Declan Rice can be allowed to be the free player who goes hunting for the ball, if they can win the ball in this PSG's part of the pitch, they can turn the attack over. That PSG defense is not so good. The reason why they win matches is because they can pin you to your own defense, and you will defend so much and forget to attack. And of course, it's Arsenal. There is always the hope of having a set piece and converting it. I think this is going to be a game of few goals. I will be happy to be proved wrong, but I think it's going to be a game of few goals. If Arsenal gets one set piece and head it in early in the game, it's game over. They've won the Champions League. I think that the one team that can defend from the second minute of the game to the end of the game and not concede is Arsenal. An interesting game. It's going to be a Champions League classic. Let's watch and see. But at the end of the game, no matter what the scoreline is, we will be back here to analyze the tactics involved and how it all went down. So hit the like button, hit the follow button. We will see again after the game. This time with the match clip and analyze how each team tried to outdo each other. Join me after the match.